Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. It's basically our trial reaction video now, so Sunday night. Firstly, congratulations to both winners from our jersey giveaway for 2026. Both Instagram and Facebook winners have now been drawn and won. Thanks to the Facebook legends that all entered as well, because it just took me about an hour and a half to put all your entries in. Instagram was easy, Facebook wasn't, but that's okay. You may be watching at the moment and you're seeing a new face. We will get there very, very shortly. Firstly, I do need to quickly address one little thing that happened last week's episode, which obviously did get shared around to a page and by a few people and things like that. So it wasn't ideal. I do want to issue an public apology about those comments that were made. It's not what the page is about. It's not how we would like to handle ourselves. It is a little bit of a personal thing. I'm not going to go there between the two parties that were involved. They are resolving that at the moment behind the scenes, which is great to hear. But it was just a passing comment that unfortunately did go away. It shouldn't have, and then unfortunately did reflect onto the page once it was shared and it was on this platform. So I do, as the owner, issue a public apology. I've spoken to Talking Power as well about it all, and they've assured me that it's all good with us. It's just a personal thing that they will resolve, no doubt about it. So let's move on, though. Let's get on to some fun stuff. And I've got Brent here that I've got no doubt there is a number of you out there. Remember Brent from either back in the podcast days from himself, seeing him around chats and stuff like that, or just the social media world, or seen him. He's one of our sponsors as well with Pack Lords. So there's a number of different avenues. He's a busy, busy man. Brent, thanks for jumping on. We've got both Savs out. Look, he had a massive day today. He played in that charity game. He actually killed it. Credit to him. I'm not sucking up to him. He actually played really well. So he was out, unfortunately, tonight. And then Trav's out as well, getting ready for a big season ahead. But Brent, thanks for joining us. You are part of League of Inches as well. For those that don't know, he does a bit behind the scenes and everything with us. Had a bit of a say in the magazine as well, which has been out for a few weeks now. It's available for free as well. Thanks for jumping on, mate. I knew my first reserve. I had to go to the old podcasting days. Thanks for jumping on.
Hey, Jolie, no worries, mate. Thanks for having me. I know you're sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel when you're getting me to show up, but that's all right, mate. I'm probably not as good as looking as Sabs, or probably not younger or anything like that, but this is what you're dealing with tonight, mate. But yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me, mate. And probably a lot of people see me popping up in chats. It's almost like my new hobby now is just pop up in every Supercoach chat and cause a bit of trouble. So it keeps me out off the streets.
You're very good at that. But just quickly, guys, he does have a fantastic rugby league knowledge. That's why I did ask him to come onto the page a few months ago. He does have a bit of fun, but I do know there is a very good rugby league mind in there as well. Quickly, personal front, Brent, just a little quick introduction. Obviously, a Knights fan to start with.
Yeah, tragic Newey fan, mate. I think I was about 5 or 6 years old when I first started supporting the Knights. So it would have been mid-90s. We won a comp in 97, 01. Life was looking good, and it's been a pretty slim 25 years since. So, mate, big Newey fan. Got a few kids, but generally just sort of hang around the place, watch a fair bit of me footy, and Supercoach keeps me home with the kids and stuff as well. So something that sort of keeps me off the streets again. But love me footy, mate, no matter how much PVL and his little bandit of or trio of bandits with him that want to change rules and do all that sort of stuff. I can't turn away from it. I love it too much, mate, just like you. So as I said, thanks for having me, and looking forward to getting amongst it, mate.
We are suckers for punishment, that is for sure. But yeah, you're right. Let's get into it. Firstly, just shout out to Caxton Brewing Company as well, our major sponsor. Thank you once again for being on board. Just quickly, I know most people watching won't notice this, but I've just quickly realised I've started this video and I've got the Supercoach background on, not just our NRL background. So that gets me, that ticks me off. But I reckon if I didn't say it, no one would have noticed. But I just wanted to dob myself in there. I've stuffed up, but that is okay. But yeah, thank you very much. It's obviously a week away from the season starting in Vegas. Go down if you haven't got anything planned in Brisbane and go and watch both the games there, or 3 games there. It's a fantastic venue. We've got a number of things happening there this year. I'm hoping I can release a lot more news within the next week or so about what we're doing for Magic around there. We've got 2 days, Saturday and the Sunday. I can give that away for now. But what we are doing there is some really fun, good, positive news to come very, very shortly. So keep an eye on our socials, please. Follow it if you haven't already. Let's get into our moment of the week quickly, Brennan. I'm stitching you up here because I forgot to put this in earlier when I sent you it, and then there was a late in, so not sure if you had too much time. But I'll go first to give you some time. I've got to just shout out Mr. Makasini himself. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his first name out. I don't want to disrespect. I think it's Hasimi Makasini, but honestly, this kid is a freak, Brent. Like, we've seen some remarkable talents in our game, especially over the last few years. Like the junior group that's starting to come through are phenomenal, and like they hit the ground running. It feels like more often than not. This guy is something else. Like, I reckon he's $1 now for Rookie of the Year. He literally just needs to stay fit, and I think he's a shoo-in for the award. That individual try basically he scored. I know To'o came in a little bit. He still had to run over the current New South Wales fullback, which isn't easy to do. Edwards is, in some aspects of it, maybe slowing down a little bit, but one thing he's very good at still is defensively, and he just made him look like a speed bump. It was a fantastic showing, Brent.
Mate, what do we call it? Big Macca, whatever you want to call him. Don't forget the name, that's for sure. How impressive was that? I know, I think it was actually one of the boys, Pete, in the Lloyd chat that actually gave me a bit of a heads up to him last year that, he was on the radar and wasn't far away, and I think he ended up debuting as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, how about that? His reputation preceded him, but the other thing I guess about him is he's so big, but the way he moves, he made a bit of a line break down that left edge again before that try, and he's a handful. But yeah, as you said, I think to go over Edwards like that, like he's a noted defender and a hard fullback in that sense. To run over him like he did, it was like a very much I'm here moment. And like I said, don't forget this name because I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
He's ensured that Benji will have to pick him in round 2. That is something that I think is now a guarantee. I think he's scored 4 tries now in the preseason challenge over the 2 games. He's just been remarkable. Anything that caught your eye, Brent?
Yeah, I think obviously it's always a bit of smoke and mirrors with trials. It can be jolly, as we saw. We'll get into all the games a little bit later, but some coaches still holding their cards pretty tightly. Other ones still trying to figure out what those combinations are going to look like come NRL season kicking off. But yeah, I think it was a good mix of teams experimenting with young guys as well as probably trying to get through some of those NRL sort of structures that they're going to play with. But there was some good young halves running around over the weekend, which is good. Young one from the Titans, Harrison, which I'm sure we'll get on. He was very impressive. Yeah. There's like I said, I think a few young playmakers coming through the NRL now, which is exciting for the game. It's almost like a new generation coming through. So starting to get to see some of those guys is exciting, mate. And then, obviously seeing guys like Macca really just putting their name on the map. So I love it. I must admit, being a big Supercoach guy, I'm a bit torn at this time of year because I like to be on the mail with the young guys, but the trials make it a little bit easy. You see what, Makasini, no one probably would have even been talking about him 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But fast forward to now and people are drafting him in their normal drafts, let alone other things. So mate, just encouraging to see those young blokes coming through and what they're going to offer. And the new wave was good to see. What about you, mate?
Oh, mate, I absolutely agree. I think the new wave coming through is absolutely fantastic. And like I said this before, I think especially at the moment, it's just an exciting. It's like what happened was a few years there, we had to just get over the COVID issue, and that basically we had the game wiped out from a junior perspective for almost 2 years. And I think a lot of people forget that. I got to have a good interview. It was a couple of years ago now with the Warriors CEO, Cameron George, and he mentioned that to me. It was a big impact for a lot of clubs that people forgot just how much the flow-on effect was for that for a number of years. I think we're starting to see everyone get back to normal finally, and all those grades coming back into it, good competition, and the like. We all know these young guys can attack like there's no tomorrow. But what I've been very very keen to see and notice and happy about was the fact that a lot of these young halves can attack. We all know that they can steer teams around, which takes a bit of balls. They also can defend. Like you spoke about Harrison just before. Like I was impressed. They tried to target him a number of times the other night, and he took it. He goes, yeah, no worries, sweet, no issues at all. So these guys, and I know a number of years ago that was a big issue when it came to young players and stuff, it was all attack, no defence. It definitely feels like that's been a massive change, which is great to see. So keen to see what this year can produce. And like you said, from a Supercoach point of view, it's about trying to find the right ones. There's too many now. It felt like the start of the year we're all saying, there's not going to be any cheapies this year. There is a lot. So bring it on, I say. Nathan Cleary. So there was a bit of mixed news what happened around Nathan Cleary. So we can actually report tonight that Nathan Cleary has pleaded guilty to what he's done basically. So I'll read out from Pamela Whaley from Code Sports. So Penrith will fight for Nathan Cleary to face NRL Premiers Brisbane in round 1 blockbuster after opting to front the judiciary on Monday night to challenge his careless high tackle charge. Penrith officials met on Sunday to get legal advice for Cleary's Grade 2 charge and have decided to plead guilty but seek a downgrade rather than take the early plea, which could free him to play the season opener by reducing his punishment to a fine. So he's admitted he's done it, but he just thinks Grade 2 is a bit much, get it down to a Grade 1, which would mean he's able to play against the Broncos. He's obviously now going. If they fail, and trust us, guys, we all know this now, it's very hard to win at the judiciary. But who knows? What do you think, firstly, Brent, on the tackle itself? Do you think it was what he's been charged for, a Grade 2 sort of high tackle? What are you thinking?
Oh, firstly, Jolie, look, I grew up in the 90s. So, probably similar to you, we used to, obviously wasn't the same as the 70s and 80s, but it's definitely not like it is now. So someone like myself, I see a shot like that on the weekend and say that's 2 weeks. I scoff a little bit. I understand player safety is at the forefront and that is super important. But I also seem to think like these guys get highly remunerated very nicely. Part of that is because of the job that they do, but that's probably a thing for another story. In real time, Jolie, I didn't think there was too much in it. Looking back on it on a replay, you obviously get some sort of contact with the head, which we know is not allowed. I still didn't think it was too bad, to be honest. If you look back at still shots of it, I think if you freeze it, it's potentially the initial contact was with the shoulder anyway. He doesn't get direct contact with the head. I know it slides up and he definitely gets him in the head, and that's what matters. But if they're looking for a downgrade, that might count for something. But the other thing is, and mentioned it in one of our Loy Legends chats, Jolie, just not long ago, is he is coming off his toes and he is launching into the contact. If he was flat-footed and on the back foot, on his heels, maybe he's got a chance. But I just think because of that launching sort of action, he might. I'd be surprised if you get a downgrade just because of the intent, I reckon. Yeah. But I see bigger hits in my kids' Oz tag and I get around it. So I don't like it, but that's what I think the reality of it is. You?
I think, unfortunately, the key word there, and look, this is all going to judiciary, guys, so we don't know what they're going to do. We're not trying to persuade anything. They won't listen to us anyway. That
Send it in, mate. Send it in. You can clip it up.
Intent is the big one for me. Obviously, it did look like he wanted to just, it was weird. This happened a few times on the weekend, which I think is just the boys that are hungry. They want to play a bit of rugby league. They're getting the chance to put a hit on where probably in training they're not doing as much because it's their teammates and stuff like that. It felt like Cleary wanted to go, all right, let's have a bit of a shot here. And he got him. He did get him. It's going to be like that finest detail to get him out or not. I have a feeling he won't win, but I hate the fact that now that means he gets a 3-week suspension, which I just think's a bit of a joke. It also goes
He's got
around
some carryover. Sorry, I think he got off something last year as well, which I think
in the finals.
Yeah, so that's coming back to bite him a little bit too now as well, which people I think are overlooking a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder how long carryover should go. Should it be every year just a clean slate?
Surely.
We're going to be holding on to things for a while. I don't like it, but the other part I don't like about this, which luckily the NRL's come out and cleared him and said this doesn't impact his eligibility for the Dally M, which thank the heavens above for that, because that was just outrageous to even think that when it first happened. But then still, I've had people in chats and stuff say, "Oh, it's the rule, sort of. That's it. If you get the rule at the moment is, guys, if you get a 2-week suspension or more, you become ineligible for winning the Dally M medal. It doesn't matter how long it's for, what it is. If it's a 2-week suspension or more, you're gone. So that, like here, we're seeing with Cleary, where it's really a nothing offence in my eyes. It's not one of those big coat hangers swinging arm, he's taking a head off or something like that. Like it's pretty. It's something that just happens on the league field. If this was done in round one, he's wiped. He cannot win the Dally M, which I think is absolutely, how to say it, bullshit. I don't like it at all. And I think people are forgetting there's already a punishment because when you're not playing, you're not picking up points. And at the moment, 6 points is the max you can win each week. So if he was out for 2 weeks in the season, he's already given the other competitors a 12-point almost advantage if they can put some points on the board. So I just don't like that rule, Brent. I know that we're obviously about to get to the the start of the season, which it is what it is. But if there's one more little change they can do, and it seems like it's the time of year where PBL is trying to do a lot, as long as it's something that's not riding the Melbourne Storm, which seems to be PBL's favourite thing to do at the moment, surely you can change this up because it doesn't sit well with me.
Nah, it's. I mean, like you said, I think it's nice to hear, and I don't know. I've only heard it from one source. Was it Dave Riccio that said that he's actually going to be eligible now? So it wasn't convincing either that that was actually the thing. But let's take it at face value and say that that's correct. Yeah, it's pretty minor when you consider if it's that sort of incident that can copy a 2-week ban and you miss a Dally M, madness. We're in a situation here, particularly with Cles, where they finally got knocked off the high horse. It's the one thing that he hasn't won. I reckon he's in for a big year potentially. If a lot of things are happening in Penrith, it's coming off the back of him, as it always has. But with all the players they've lost over the years, it would be an outrage to sort of see him come out, kill it, blitz the Dally M, you could win by 10 plus votes potentially, and then be ineligible because of Again, the Macca one just looked bad, I think, a little bit because he was juggling, his head was down. But, I don't know, don't quote me, Jolly, and I certainly don't watch this sport, so I'm just talking out of dribble here. But the AFL do something similar as well. I don't watch it either. I just remember something happening with a player a couple of years ago where he would have gone close to winning it and didn't, but he wasn't eligible. I don't even Lockie Neal or someone. Anyway, I don't think you want to see that for that sort of a thing. There's got to be a fine line there, but that would be rough. So I'm glad it hasn't happened in the end. But a guy slipping in a tackle these days is easy going to get you a couple of weeks with a swinging arm or something. So I don't know. It'd be nice for him to look at it. And then you couple that with the fact that, like you said, he's going to miss those 2 rounds. They'll have bye rounds as well. So it's. I must admit, Jolie, I don't know why he's challenging it. The reward for it being he's either going to definitely miss at least a week, right? He's guaranteed to miss a week, or he can get off completely.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's pleading guilty, but he's just saying it's not as bad as what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. It's just a fine. So that's the weird thing because he's putting his hand up saying, "Yeah, I did it," but I didn't do what you're trying to say I did. It's
not as bad as
it's a weird. It's like saying to a cop, "Yeah, I sped." But you didn't get me for 15 over. You got me for 10 over.
Exactly.
Who knows how it goes? Obviously, the issue, like we said, they can be a bit funny and stubborn. It feels like for the last couple of years. I think he's more likely than not to not get off. But in saying that, the NRL's been doing some funny things the last few months about putting their brand first. It feels like in the ratings and stuff like that. So this could be another one where they go Nathan Cleary round 1 against the Broncos. How good would that be? So.
Mate, Ivan might be flicking him a text, mate. Put the blowtorch
on. Hang on a second. We're not alleging any text messages being sent between any other coaches and the NRL. We'll see some more phones getting tapped. That's for sure. But just finally on that, I think the suspension side of it, I'm happy with grade 3s and any off-field indiscretions to mean it wipes a player out from Dally M. I think that's completely fine. I think grade 3s are worse enough offence to say, yep, all right, you're gone type thing. That means it's obviously been a big swinging arm or dangerous tackles, things like that. Off-field, I think, speaks for itself. I think players like what Ezra did last year should just automatically say, you can't win a Dally M and the like. So that's okay.
Bubba rule you out of Dally M contention? Or?
Oh, I don't. Well, the way they did it, probably it would, but yeah, that's.
Sorry, play on.
Let's not go back there. Don't open those can of worms with me. I tell you, I will be here all night. Let's move on. Just quickly, sorry guys, if you're watching on YouTube and you just realised or just looked at my screen and you think I'm in a rave, I'm not. I've got a light in like the distance that I had covered that's flicking on and off, as you can probably see. It's now fallen off the covering that I had on it. I had it sticky taped on, so now it's just I'm back to how it was originally. So apologies, I'm not at a rave. I'm here talking some footy in the garage. So there we go. Unlucky the podcast room. Let's move on, though. The trial reaction part of the video. So I want to talk, first of all, about some teams that did impress me over not just this week, but obviously last week. But the focus more so is probably on this week because more of the NRL-style players did play or their strongest lineups played. And we obviously spoke about Vegas teams last week, so they won't feature either. So don't take it personally, Vegas fans, that we don't talk about your team. Go back and listen to last week because that's when we spoke about your team there. Now, before we start, let's just preference this, Brent, and say the typical old, it's a trial, things like that. We get it. We're in the same boat, trust me. But from a podcast point of view, there's things to talk about, so we will be discussing it. But just remember, after all said and done, it's only a trial. It's all good. We get it. It's only a trial. Don't roast us too hard.
Especially when we start talking about Parajolly.
Yeah, look, let's start on Parramatta. And I just got home, actually. I was at the Ticketek office, battered all the elements. Last night was freezing, pissing down rain this morning, windy. What else? I don't know. Bloody had anything else. It was raining meatballs. So dealt with it all, but I finally booked my grand final tickets. So we are the pre-season champions, which is fantastic to see. Got my double pass for grand final day. It's a sure thing that we're going to be there, so that's fantastic. But on a fair income thing, Brent, I'm probably one of the harshest para fans or critics out there from a podcasting point of view. It's got me in trouble a number of times. It got me to a point where the club wanted to chat to me and tried to release an olive branch for a while there that didn't quite work out. So I've got to say, though, I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing at the moment from the club and what Jason Ryles has done since he's got there to now. What this club looked like 18 months ago or so is so far away from what it is now. I'm seeing whoever puts that jersey on, and I noticed it last week as well, and I said it to some of the boys there, is that whenever someone's coming on, you see in trials, normally that effort and that resolve and that just that the team really starts to dip. You can see once they start doing their replacements and subs. I didn't see it as much with Para at all. Like I just felt like the wheels kept moving. Everyone from Mitchy Moses, the captain, all the way down to squad member 60, sort of knew what they were doing. They knew the game plan. It feels like the SG Ball, Harold Matts, New South Wales Cup, and then the first grade are all doing the same plays and stuff like that, which is uncommon for Parramatta. We've been very much fighting each other in-house, it feels like, for a long time. It just feels like the club's together and it's showing on the field.
Yeah, mate. I think one thing that I sort of noticed a bit, and you touched on it, is the effort. Like whether either side of the ball, whether it was attack, defence, trial or not, it didn't matter who was there. Just that effort. I think there was a charge down at one point, and they don't have to go that hard in trials, and a fair few of them probably knew they already had the spot. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But Rilesley just seems to have them sort of all bought into the buy-in now. Whatever it is he's selling, they're all lapping it up, and they've bought into it. And I think the fitness is a big part of that as well. They all look pretty trim. Big Parlo is looking good. They're all out there ready to go. So you mix in a little bit of Mitchy Moses. I think at the end of last year, you looked really good when he came back and started to sort of cause a bit of trouble for teams trying to make it into the 8, and they've sort of left off from where they left it at the end of last year, I think. So obviously Moses is a big part of that, mate, and as you said, it was good to see them all competing and putting in the effort, because that's the stuff that matters at the end of the day. But if he can stay fit, mate, never say never. And the last team that won the preseason tournament ended up winning the comp, so you might be...
Get honest. Gamble responsibly, bet with your head not over it, obviously. But tell you what, the omens are there. The curse is being broken this year. I'm telling you now, everyone, I'll have 2 weeks off everything if we win the comp. I will go absolutely bonkers. Sorry in advance of the misso he'll deal with all our kids for that period of time. But it's just one of those things that will happen. So just as well, what I liked a lot about this game was Roosters got away to a really hot start. Then the weather went we had a stoppage after 4 minutes of play, which I thought was a bit weird. We won't go too far into that, but whoever just didn't just keep him back a little bit, going on for 4 minutes seemed a bit strange, but that is what it is. Going set for setup looked like we started to get the ascendancy a little bit in terms of fitness and stuff like that, but then, and it won't happen much, so to take advantage of it when you can. Mitchell Moses' boot wasn't quite on. It was pretty poor on the weekend, which is a bit weird to see. A couple out in the full, it gave the Roosters momentum, and then they scored those couple of late tries in the first half. Then a young star sort of graced us, and there's been a lot of talk about Lorenzo Talatani for a while now. It feels like he's been in and around the place for 2 years, the talk that's been of him, and a lot of pressure this year for him because they've just let go of Dylan Brown, obviously, to the Newcastle Knights. And the big reason for that is what everyone was told very publicly was we've got Lorenzo in the mix and he's going to be our future. And that was before he even laced up a boot for first grade. He still technically hasn't. It's just been trials. But I think what we've seen was someone very special. We spoke about it at the start, Brent, some of these young guys that are coming through. He's another really exciting player who has me as a Para fan very excited. I'm keen to see him develop. I didn't think Pezzett was fantastic at 6. I'm not going to lie there. I've always questioned that signing. I like the fact you got 2 steady hands. I think Pezzett's definitely a first grade ready player. I just think he's more of that halfback mould. So depending on what Lorenzo can do over the opening month or 2 of football in New South Wales Cup, mate, it wouldn't shock me if he's there mid-year if Pezzett doesn't really start to improve that 5'8" style player.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Moses and Pezzett, not similar, but both more of that halfback style of player. I think it's always nice with your halves to have a bit of yin and yang, right? You want a guy that can play eyes up and take those opportunities. And Lorenzo very much looks like that guy. His eyes up, quick reaction, quick off the mark. So, yeah, he looks really good. Admittedly, I didn't really even know too much about him until the last sort of end of last year as well, because I started to realise that they had, Joash Papali'i there, and I was sort of wondering how they might fit him in with a Yongi at the back. That's obviously, at the start of last year, there was a bit of, maybe it's Joash, maybe it's a Yongi, but it's certainly a Yongi now. So I was just sort of thinking, Joash will slide into 6, but there was this other fella, Lorenzo, which I hadn't seen too much of. But yeah, very impressive. With the 6-man bench, Jolie, I think they will have the luxury of possibly being able to name him, and if Pezzett isn't giving him what he needs, or they do need that something different, that last look in the last 20 to be something else, he can rip him off, chuck him in and fresh legs and see how he goes. I think it's that 6-man thing is going to be great for a few reasons, but potentially things like that where we're going to see young guys get on the same way that I think we saw Paps many years ago come on late and just shred it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely one to watch, mate, and exciting times for Para fans. I was also going to ask you, mate, I was just curious, being a Para man, I was interested in the hooking position. You've obviously got young Riley Smith there and have recently signed Talon De Silva, who at the time coming out of the Tigers was meant to be the next best thing since sliced bread. How do you see that hooking combination working for you guys this year, and what does it look like into the future, you reckon?
Look, probably the future, there's going to be a headache there and a call that needs to be made.
Smith was brilliant, by the way. Sorry, I thought Smith was brilliant.
I think at the moment it actually works almost perfectly because I think Smith's very good at the start, does his defensive work really well. Talon comes on once the middle starts to tire a little bit. What we've seen on the weekend with Talon as well, I feel like for the first time in a Para jersey, he's done it in the Tigers, but first time he had that running game going. He's very quick. He's actually a really quick little dummy half. If you give him that little bit of space, he gets it either for an offload or just a quick play the ball. He can go. He's very, very quick. I'm keen to see that with Iongi following him, things like that. I think this year it should work okay because we can't forget both have either signed or extended their deals while both of these players are there at the club, so they know full well what the plan is moving forward. I've heard some talk around that Riley Smith potentially will turn into like that Brandon Smith style role where he might start a hooker and then go and play in sort of those forwards, sort of that lock role a little bit. I don't think that'll happen this year because there's just too many forwards at the Eels at the moment. They don't need that style of play. We've got too many. We've got Dylan Walker, Jack DeBellin, Parlo, obviously Hopgood as well. You don't need another guy in there in the middle. So, but probably next year and above and beyond, I can see that start to happen. The question will be whether Talon's happy to have that first 20 off and then come on and potentially play the rest of the game, or if he wants to start being that starter, which I think most first graders want to start. It's like this thing for him. Where I'm on the opposite end, I think it's very key to have those guys that come off the bench and can change a game. Like, just quickly, I remember Jared Hayne having a chat on one of the interviews he'd done, and I asked a question on there about one of the influential players for that '09 run, and he mentioned Kevin Kingston. Now, not a lot of people might not remember him. He was one of those under-the-radar guys, but he literally did that. He'd come on off the bench after 20, 25 minutes for Matt Keating, who was just basically a very much meat and veg sort of hooker. He'd come on and just create this whole excitement, and Hayne gave him raps. He goes, I wouldn't have been able to do half what I did if it wasn't for him coming on and getting that speed going and things like that. So I still think the game, especially now, hopefully it quickens up even more and the forwards start to tie with the different bench rules and stuff. We start seeing the little men being able to play a bit more football. I'm excited to see that anyway. So hopefully I answered you.
No, you did. I think Smith just looks a goer, and I know how good talent is, so it's a good problem to have. But Rolsey would have known, TDS would have known what was going on when Rolsey signed him, so I think he's will be right.
One thing I'll say quickly, just we haven't been in this sort of situation with young guns for a long, long time. So, we might lose one or two of them, but we've still got a number of them in the wings ready to go, which has me as a fan very, very excited. Another side that I'm pretty excited about, not just for their jerseys. I think their jersey is remarkable at the moment, and it needs to be their home jersey. I know it's technically they're away at the moment, but I love it. The Titans. Look, again, it's just the trials. I'm not going to keep saying it. We've said it at the start. But what I've seen so far, Brent, from them for the last 2 weeks and the effort that is just remarkable. I said in our season preview, me and Trav did, if you haven't yet, go and check it out. Scroll down wherever you're listening or watching, you'll find it a couple of podcasts deep. I said they were my wooden spooners this year, purely off the fact that I said there'd be some little bright moments this year, but I thought, I probably didn't give Hene enough credit. I thought it would take a lot longer for him to turn this club around because it's just been a basket case for so long. It feels like he has done this much quicker than I thought was possible. And I said in a chat, I think it may have been our hub, where I said it's a horrible reflection for Des Hasler, who's clearly now past it in the NRL because he could not do anything like this. But, man, I'm so impressed with what I'm seeing from the Titans, Brent. Like, every little win they had on the weekend, they celebrated like it was almost a grand final win, which normally you'd probably bag and laugh at, but I actually loved it. I love the fact that the Titans haven't done this for so long that it's clearly something they've been told to buy in for, and the players are listening.
Mate, no, absolutely. I certainly didn't see that result coming on the weekend. Again, we know it's a trial, but they did play the Storm, and the Storm didn't run out a skeleton team at all either. They still had Harry, obviously no Jerome, but Cameron was there. Farlogo was at the back. Again, another
back line.
Again, another just they look trim, they look good. Brimo looked good. JC looked really good, and just the effort. They got plenty of headaches as well because, like I said, they got plenty of depth in different positions as well. They got some young guys now, Elias there and Harrison that we touched on, who looks like he sort of would belong up there, I think, as well if he got his opportunity. But even that winger, I can't say his name. He looks like a bit of a cheapie. He's didn't even know anything about him. He's only 21. I thought he was about 30 from looking at him, but. Huge raps on him, and like you said, I think they just have all really bought into whatever Hane's selling them. And the other thing that's quite interesting is, like, imagine if they did have Fafita still out there. I know they don't. That's obviously long gone, but I don't know if he still had him running around. But yeah, they looked good. On the flip side of that, I think Melbourne looked pretty ordinary. Again, I know it was a trial, but a lot of jumper grabbing, a lot of, as I said, from Harry Grant, even he got run over it through a few times, which was interesting. So,
hey, we'll get there. We will get there, mate. We'll get to that side of the podcast.
Yeah, sorry. It's interesting to see what will happen. But yeah, good signs for the Titans. Hane, he's had the reins for less than 6 months now, probably 4 or 5 months, whatever it'll be, and he's got them humming already. We'll see how they go in the actual season, mate. It's a different kettle of fish once the season kicks off, but yeah, good signs for Titans fans to begin with.
No, it absolutely is. And a big point that I thought was interesting when I was watching, and I've looked at their squad for a number of weeks now doing lineups and rankings and stuff like that, but this is probably on paper the worst squad they've had in a long time. but it's quite funny that they've looked the best they have in so long. Like, it feels like maybe they needed this. They needed a refresh, get a lot of these personalities out that were just in it for the pay packet or the lifestyle, which it seems like they've done. They've literally now got footballers there that want to play. They want to win. That's the most important thing to them, is winning a football game each week. And then whatever happens after that, it's a bonus type thing. Like, even like little things you mentioned for Feeder before. But then I look at Paxton over the last few weeks, who I didn't know anything about prior to this year, and in him, that mail leaking about a month or something ago for Supercoach purposes. I've watched him very closely to make sure I wasn't getting sold a dud and losing a spot in a spot that's got some good cheapy available players in it. Man, he looks a goer as well. Like, yeah, for feeder, he's not going to be a prime for feeder, but the Titans haven't had a prime for feeder for a long time. This guy looks a real goer. And then you throw the likes of, we'll go on the halves in a second, but just on Paxton, mate, what were you thinking? Because I'm sure from a Supercoach point of view, you're looking as well.
Yeah, I must admit, so I watched him, the first time I got to watch him a bit more was in the All-Stars game. So that was the first time I got a good look at him. And I must admit, I was not as impressed as I was watching him last night. I don't know if it was just a little bit of the nerves or whatever it might have been in that All-Stars game. But yeah, very solid. Just like you said, that I think he's safe, he's reliable. He's not, he's no for feeder, that's for sure. But I think they've got potentially a back row they can sit on. But if not, Cooper Bai also looked brilliant. He went through a couple times as well. He's an absolute weapon of a thing as well. So they've got some depth there as well. They've got some options. And I mean, as crazy as it sounds, and while we're on the bandwagon, they've always had a good little nucleus of players there at the Titans. You consider Brimo, JC, now Kinney, Tino. It was Fifi for a little while, but even guys like Sammy and Jojo Fafita, like, they've got a good core of guys there that have been playing footy together for a little while now. So whether it's not, they've just needed this sort of coach to come in and get them to sort of click, I don't know. But bloody hell, if this is what they're looking like after just a few months, I'd hate to see them in another 12 months' time. But yeah, Patson looks good. I'm still not sure if it's his spot, to be honest, Jolie. Like, Cooper Bai is obviously there nipping at his heels, but like I said, it's good healthy competition and what you want, particularly for young fellas. So yeah, they looked good. It's going to be very interesting. I think that people sort of overlook guys like Verrills and even Randall. They're not household names by any means, but they're certainly not bad footballers either, getting that job done in the middle there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for them. I think, it'll be interesting to see if they can attract anyone there now with Hane, and Tino's re-signed, which is good. So if they can get their defence sorted, they can score points with the best of them.
Yeah, and to be fair, the early indications are that defensively they are improving a lot. The last couple of weeks, that's been probably their biggest bright. Like, they've scored some points, but to say then and turn around and say their defense has been what's probably caught my eye the most says what we all should really be saying about the Titans. Just finally, on the halves, Brimson and Campbell, I think they did have a pretty good game. Personally, I'm still not completely sold on that halves pairing because they're obviously both, in my eyes, their best positions are fullback for both of them. It's a weird one to be in. I love the fact that they've now got Ilias and Harrison both nipping at their heels, which will just push them for the rest of the season and into the future, which is a fantastic spot for the Titans to be at. I know we get a bit weird when we speak about these young guns at the Titans because they've burnt so many in the past, but Harrison just looks completely different. And I've got to admit, I don't know if it was what happened to him last year, Ilias, and he got just bogged down and he was down in the dumps just not getting a start when many of us thought he should have got a start at some point again at first grade. He just looks fresh. He looks good. Like, he actually just looks like on the weekend, and mate, he just looks like a first grader again. And I'm like, holy crap, it's going to be hard to keep him out.
Mate, I remember Ilias when he came onto the scene with South. I thought he looked good. He come from Union. He was still learning, like he was learning a few of the tricks in the trade of the league world, but he looked good. But I reckon it wasn't. I can't remember who was at the helm at the Rabbits when they pretty much just pulled the rug out from under him. You know what I mean? He wasn't playing too bad, and I think it was it Demetria at the time? Whoever it was at the time, he was sort of building, and I felt like he was a bit of a scapegoat. Yeah. And then he sort of went down after that, went to the Dragons. He copped a bit of nepotism, I reckon, from Flano. And I think he has plenty to offer. It's good depth for him. They've obviously got that Harrison there as well. But Yeah, he's another one that people probably tend to overlook a bit, but he's got plenty to offer. That Titans halves, mate. I really don't know where Brimo's best spot is. It is probably fullback, but you can't move Kinney there now.
No.
Like Kinney's the guy. They've got the center. I mean, you got Jojo Fafita in the centres. I think Fagai played a bit there. Like they can pit Sammy there. I don't know. You probably can chuck him at centre and let him roam, and then you've got a bit more of a. If you put Ilias or even that Harrison, like they're a bit more of a game manager than what Campbell would be. Campbell's still more of that eyes up type player.
I'd love Campbell at 5'8". I reckon that's almost his spot now. So
yeah, so it's again good problems to have for Hannay, but I can't figure out how they fit all those puzzle pieces in. But it feels like Brimo's got to move out of there somewhere and give one of these other guys a go. But that said, it's probably a bit rough. It's like a good problem to have, outside backs galore, and yeah, it's interesting times. I think I tipped the Titans for the spoon as well, Jolie, so I might be having a bit of egg on my face this year as well, which wouldn't be unusual. But
we're in this together. I'm happy to wear it. Another team that really did impress me. I'm not going through every single team, by the way, guys. It's a couple, and then we'll be moving on. The Tigers. I spoke a little bit about Macassini before and just how good he was, but I just think, again, a side that I think they did show some signs last year of really starting to turn some kind of corner. It felt like all of that got flushed down the toilet by their admin once again, the back of house staff over the off season, which was unfortunate to see from a Tigers point of view. But they look. The biggest thing I love the fact that Luai's now put his hand up and goes, "I'm not a Batman. I'm happy to be Robin," and not be ashamed in that, and go back to his best position, which opens. And I thought it just opened the Tigers up completely. It looked to me straight away like there's this different side that looks dangerous. Like we've seen that try that Macassini did score, but it was the lead-up work by Luai, which was so important, and getting on the outside of none other than Nathan Cleary, which I heard in his post-match, he gave him a little bit of cheek afterwards, and rightly so. It was a fantastic move to put on. I'm actually really keen to the Luai season. I haven't been the biggest Luai fan for a while now. Last year, I did like to. I seen him really change as a person and become this sort of leader, and I really liked what I started to see. But I think it did take away from his actual on-field presence and what he can do as a player. To be honest, I don't think he really deserved form-wise to play Origin last year. I think he was pretty down in the pecking order, if it was my opinion. But I'm predicting if he can start well at 5'8", man, he's right in the mix for rep football again this year and would deserve it. But I'm keen to see him and Dewey work together. I think them two with Buller at the back, who showed some really good signs on the weekend, and then no one's speaking about him, but Corus House, like this spine together, very underrated spine.
yeah, mate, you said it. It was sort of like, remember when Luai was. I think it was coming towards the end of his last season there, and Cleary was out for the back half of the season. He had to sort of put him on his back, and he did exactly that.
Yep.
It was almost similar to a little bit of that. Like he's just playing what's in front of him, not trying to game manage because he knows he's got, Dewey there to do that for him, who I thought was awesome as well. Dewey was unreal on the weekend. But, mate, that left edge, you got Luai, Samuela Fainu, Taylor May, and if Macca's going to... good luck anyone out on the right side defending that, because there's weapons everywhere. You're firing shots everywhere you go.
What's with all these stacked left edges at the moment? Friggin' hell, every second team has one.
But yeah, no Terrell on the weekend either. So, they've still got a little bit to give. But yeah, mate, huge fan of Buller, always have been. Even on the other side of the field there with Taruva. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can sustain it. I think that was the issue last year. They sort of seemed to run out a bit at the end of the year. I don't know how you plan for that. I guess just more fitness and pre-season work, I guess. But again, it's just looking like it's going to be another pretty tight NRL season. There's not going to be head and standout runner for last. There might be a couple of stragglers, but just seems like all the teams are starting to lift the standard, and we could be in for a really good year of NRL once again, which is brilliant, similar to what we did last year.
Absolutely. Finally, we talk about left edges. This side really impressed me. It wasn't just the left edge either. It's just been the last 2 weeks and the way they've played. It's the Bunnies. I wasn't too sure about buying in too heavily with everything that's been spoken about them for this year. I had them just missed my 8 when I made my first bold predictions for this year. But what I've seen so far, last week, obviously, not even a reserve grade, it was below that. beat almost a really good, strong Dragon side, which was remarkable. It feels like Wayne's up to something. It feels like Wayne's really sprinkling in that last bit of magic dust, knowing full well he's probably only realistically got another year or two to win a comp, like to go all in and to get something done. It looks like he's really pinpointed this 2-year period as that time to really go forward, and his players are responding. Fair credit to him, because the left edge, we know by now, we don't have to talk about him too much, but that looks freaky already. And we've seen little things from Fafita today where he took not just these like runs on the edge where you can bust the hole, off you go. I've seen him take a few of those harder runs as well, which I really liked today. And that was his biggest criticism at the Titans, was he didn't want to take those runs. He just sat on the wing, or not on the wing and center and stuff, didn't do anything. Where this time I've seen him go around onto the right-hand side, which I've never seen before. And he took one of those like first or second hit-ups. I'm like, this is not David Fafita. Is this like a cloak of David Fafita? Like, what's going on here? It's a clone. So that was firstly great to see, Brent. Like, this left edge is going to do some silly things, but it looks like they all want to play some proper football as well.
Yeah, if anyone's forgotten what David Fafita can do, I really hope we can see it this year, because there's nothing quite beats a big man in open space, if you ask me, being a fellow big man myself. I'm definitely not in the same shape as Fafita, but I don't see it too often. But love to see the big units into a bit of space, and he's one of them. So, you could talk about that left edge all day, Jolie. And I mean, I always still wonder whether Cody Walker's body's going to let him down. That will probably be something that gets talked about throughout the year. But even that young halfback they ran out, Ward, was it?
Yes.
He's awesome. Like, dare I say it, he almost reminds me of a young Adam Reynolds from years ago. He's just looks like a footy player, a competitor. He's tough as anything for a little fella. So it sounds like he's going to get the nod at 7 as well to start. So he's just sort of popped up out of nowhere again. And but Wayne Bennett, he's done it. He's managed to snavel Fifi from the Titans, and all of a sudden now Trell's out on that. He's happy to play on that centre. Jai Gray's an unbelievable player as far as I'm concerned. Again, I before I saw the sort of what they did today, I always thought they were going to push for top 4 this year. But I guess the one thing that's a concern is Latrell and Cody have just got to get that shit out of their game that they don't seem to ever want to get out of their game, the niggle. If they could just get rid of it, I know that's just how they play. But even today in the trial, Trell all over Blake Wilson of nothing, and then grabbing Garrick and throwing him. It's just like, come on, man, just worry about the footy. You don't need to do any of that, because if you just get your footy right, that speaks for itself. But that's always a bit frustrating to see, because he's also cost his team in the past through stupid stuff. We've seen it when he put that shot on Manu in the head a few years ago, and he helped miss the final series. So
you're spot on.
If they can keep that shit in check, they'll be dangerous. But I always just think if they're just one moment away from losing someone, it just changes their whole dynamic.
Yeah, and I actually mentioned in the trial notes post, which thanks to everyone getting around them as well. I didn't think they'd go anywhere near as well as they did and gain the traction they have, but you seem to all love them, and thanks for obviously for doing that and supporting all those. It's actually been pretty fun to put together. Lucky I'm a leg tragic, so I'm always making notes as we go. So I just had to translate them over to a post. But you're absolutely spot on. It was a big point I made, because I'd already looking forward, and I can see that costing the Bunnies in a couple of games, or some of those close ones. And opposition are smart; they will go into games knowing full. And when Garrick was doing it all, he had literally a smile on his face. He knew exactly what he was doing. He probably came in today going, "It's a trial. I'm just going to have some fun. I'm going to get under their skin." And he literally just done it to a T. Trust me, I know Garrick's not the cleanest player out there either. I know he can get under a lot of opposition skin and stuff like that himself, but he did it well, and he did exactly what a game plan would be from a coach going up against that left edge, knowing full well they've got some hotheads. If I was a coach, I'd do the same thing. I'd go to one of my big smartasses in the team, whether it was Reed or Garrick or whoever it is. I'd go, mate, you're into them all game, please. Just go. They'll lose it. You'll get us a couple of penalties, and hopefully that equates to a victory, and we get one of those 2 points or something like that. But they need to get that in check. I know it's their game, and that's potentially what they're about and things like that. But when it gets to these big close games, and I think this year is going to be a lot more of those than ever before, with so many teams that feel like they're very close on paper, You can't be doing it. Like, this was a trial, and we've already seen Walker lash out and push and shove, and like, that's not a good look. It doesn't sit too well with me. And the fact is, they don't need to do it anymore. Like, they've got a stacked, not just left edge, and I'm about to bring it up, but their right edge looks fantastic as well. Like, they've got a fair income football side this year that can do some damage in this competition. You don't need to be having these guys out for 1 or 2 weeks every couple of weeks and costing you a couple of momentum penalties and things like that. It will be the difference between 2 or 3 wins this year, which could be a home final in the top 4 or a knockout playing for your life, basically, and you're finishing 7th or 8th, and you could get knocked out in the first week.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I just, the thing I scratch my head with it is how Bennett hasn't pulled him into line with it. I'd have to think he'd be saying, look, go do what you do, but you just got to rein it in to both of them. But he hasn't seemed to. But yeah, we all know how devastating Trell is. When he's on, he's arguably one of the most devastating players in the comp. So you take him away from any team, it's going to be a loss. But again, I think similar to Fifi, if you can put a lighter under them, they're awesome. But if they can tend to be a bit lazy or a bit missing. But if they can get those two boys humming, good luck. And then next year when Payno, or I don't know, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but I mean, they're already going to go close this year. Yeah. Imagine next year. Holy dooly. Anyway. But yeah, if Fifi and Trell can just play all year and play, like, say, 20 games each, like, good luck to the rest of the competition.
They're almost a guaranteed top 4 when you're talking those numbers. It'd be crazy. Let's move on because, again, guys, I've lied to Brendan. We've gone over the allotted time that I told him to free up. So let's move on to some of the teams that has me worried, and we'll see if Brent agrees or he might not. There's a couple of teams to talk about, and it's not just, obviously, again, guys, we'll preference that this is just a trial games. We know that. There's some talking points to come out of it. So first team is the Melbourne Storm. So what has worried me, what I've seen from the Melbourne Storm the last couple of weeks, Brent, is just the fact that depth seems like a real issue this year. I know when they're full strength for what they can be at the moment, they're still a bloody good. They're a top 4 side still. Anyone that has a spine of Longo, Munster, Hughes, and Grant will be in the top 4, almost moonwalking backwards. That's how good they are. But there's also, and I noticed on the weekend when they were versing the Titans, we've got to remember there's another 9 players on that field with them. And first time in a long time, I don't know if a lot of those players are top echelon in their positions when you compare them to the rest of the teams in the competition. And some of these, like Munster and that, they can only do so much. They're human. Like, they're such good players. They do need some help. And like with last year, we've seen the likes of Eli Katoa, who was so big for him and so good for him, get him out of trouble so many times, would score a freaky try, would make a freaky run or an offload from nothing. I don't know if they've got that at the moment, and that's the thing that gets me going. Then I'm thinking, if they do lose one of these big 4, they don't have the depth anymore because Pezzet's gone. Paps is just retired, so Far Longo's not the backup anymore. He's the guy. And you've obviously got Wishart's the super sub. And yeah, I'm a little bit worried with what's going to happen this year if some injuries start to play part, which they're already starting to do.
Yeah, and I see it, Jolie. It's almost like they've lost a little bit of, and it's crazy to say this given they've just come off back-to-back grand finals, noting they did lose them both. But a little bit of that gloss, it looks like it's worn off a bit. Craig Bellamy coach side, Harry, Jerome, Cam are all still there, but you look across the rest of the squad now and it's not as intimidating as it has been in the last 5 or 10 years, obviously. Particularly when you start to add in things like you said with Ellie now not there. He got them out of trouble so many times. Just like exactly as you said, he was the guy. When they needed a moment, he was the guy. So
now they're going to be as well. Aerial threat.
Coates's now gone. We now know why they were so heavy on Lomax. Obviously,
still are.
And there's certainly some footy players coming through. That Moses Leo and Lasardi. Like, these guys look good, but they're not first grade. Like, they might be ready, but they're not. They haven't had that experience yet. So, yeah, I'm not convinced that. I mean, I haven't thought about it too much, to be honest, Jolie, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him possibly battling for a top 8 spot. I'm definitely not thinking that they're pushing in for a top 4 despite coming off back-to-back grand finals. I think Sewer will be good. There'll be some up and down with him, bit of a roller coaster at times. He's certainly not going to be what perhaps was, but yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. They will still lose those guys through Origin as well, every year as they do. So if they don't start the year well, they could be in a bit of trouble as far as I don't know when the last time they missed finals was. It's probably been 20 years, but it's going to be interesting to see how Melbourne go this year. But probably shouldn't write them off too easily, as I said, coming off back-to-back GFs with Craig Bellamy there. But signs weren't good on the weekend, as I said. Plenty of jumper grabbing from a few guys that, yeah, I don't know. I reckon Bellamy would have given a bit of a serve after that, even though it was a trial.
The performance almost should have been the other way around in terms of the jerseys. It should have been if we got on here thinking what the Titans did was actually the Storm, and what the Storm did was actually the Titans, we'd sit here going, oh yeah, that was expected. That game was expected. So yeah, it's just a little bit worried because these guys will be people they rely on now moving forward, or players they rely on. Even with Lasada, I think he's on the wrong edge. He needs to be with Hughes over on the right. He needs to be Eli Katoa's replacement, and it seems like at the moment he's on the left, which who knows what's happening with Blore. Still no real confirmation about that potential off-season suspension that he's got. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But, yeah, just little things I'm not quite across. But then won't surprise me, round one they get there and they beat the Eels by 30 or 40, just the way Melbourne can do things at times. Manly, I have not been a huge Manly fan at all in the build-up to this season. And I've got to say right now, Brent, and I've spoken to a couple of their fans who have, I was very surprised. I actually agreed with a lot of what I've said so far is I haven't seen anything to change my mind, unfortunately. If anything, I'm even more concerned with after what I've seen from the last 2 weeks trial. I know the Trebojeviches weren't there. I know Hamole wasn't there. But again, we talk about from the Storm side of view, there's even less players that Manly are relying on, and I'm not seeing much at all, Brent. Like, the big thing for me at the moment is the halves. I know that's the first game basically together, but I'm not talking more so Fogarty. I'm talking about Brooks. Brooks has been a horrendous signing for them, if I'm going to be honest. He's had not even a handful of good games since pulling on the Manly Sea Eagle jersey. And today, to notice how much of a difference it was once Walsh got on the field to how it was when Brooks was on the field playing with him, it was so significant. I just sat back and went basically to myself, they have no choice here. If Seabold wants to be fair about keeping his job, he has to put Walsh in now at 6 to start round one. Like, there's no other way. And if you want to save face a little bit with Brooks, maybe he becomes your 14 guy. And there was talk last year at some point he might have had to transition into the hooker position. Maybe that will work for him. I'm not too sure. But from what I saw this today, and yet last week as well when Walsh was on the field, mate, he's the future. And they just have to... The time's now for Manly. They don't have a chance to go into this season and build into it and hope some combinations work. They need to be winning football games from the start.
Yeah, mate, I totally agree with you with Brooksy as far as he hasn't really gotten any bang for buck for him. And you've also got to remember, like, Fogarty's, I think, 31 or 32. Brooks is not too much different. And I think they've still got Brooksy for at least this year and next. And then Jamal's, I think he signed a 2 or 3 year deal as well. So neither of them are spring chickens. They're both well into their 30s, or will be by the time they're out of their contracts. But so I just feel like they have to start planning for the future, right? And that Joey Walsh, like, again, a guy that we'd all probably heard the name before, but getting to see him actually out there, he's a difference maker. Like, he has to be there somewhere. The sooner you get that guy there, the better. And I wasn't aware, I think it was Brandy I heard saying he was a really good union player, and they reckoned he was going to be probably the next fly half for the Wallabies, and he may have even been it by now had he stayed playing union. Man, put that up against what Brooks and Fogarty can dish up, and it's like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, yeah, you're NRL players, I'm not, but if you're doing what's best for your team, you've got to make some hard decisions, and I think someone there has to fall out, and I can't imagine it's going to be Fogs. So, yeah, whether they've only got Simpkin there, I think, and they signed Docker Clay to play hooker, maybe Brooksy can come in there with that 6-man bench. Maybe they might be able to do something.
The squad's all over the place. Let's call it what it is. Like, it's just...
They're going to be
their
Tommy.
backline's fantastic, but you need a forward pack to get on the front foot. And I'm sorry, I've not seen anything so far that suggests to me that Manly will be playing on the front foot majority of their games this year. And that's the other thing with Fogarty. Last year, we've seen him play off the front foot pretty much every game because the Raiders package just head and shoulders above anyone's, especially last year. it's just, yeah, man, I'm extremely worried. Normally, as a Para fan, that should like please me, but there's just it doesn't, because I love Fogs. I've always been a huge Fogarty fan. Players like Trebojevic and that, I really hope injury wise he can just stay on the park and produce some stuff. I love their backline when they're on. I love Cooler. Cooler's a fantastic, exciting player to watch. We all know Hamole, but just I don't rate Seabold at all, and I just think that first 5 to 6 weeks this year is crucial for him keeping his job.
Mate, I don't think it'll be the last time we see him falling asleep in a Macca's, because that's going to be the location of his next job, I reckon. Nah, you're right. I don't know. They've got a couple of young guys there, and they're going to be Tommy dependent, obviously. And I don't know. There's going to be some new combos there. They haven't had to. What's this new halfback? What's that? They've not had one of those for a long time. So there's certainly going to be some changes, and probably be a bit of what do they call it, forming and storming and trying to figure a few things out. So, yeah, I think Seabold will be under a bit of pressure. I think he's only taken to the finals once in 3 years he's had them. So if he doesn't figure it out this year, they'll definitely be looking for his head, I reckon.
And just finally, quick shout out to the club that I've seen their announcement video for Cooler extending, which is great news for the club. Fantastic extension. Hopefully that means we will see him play a little bit of fullback moving forward. Hopefully that's the plan for him. I'd love to see him there. But shout out to him. It wasn't done in a car park this year. There was this time. I know Turbo's announcement of captaincy was in the car park. There was still some takeaway coffees around, and I noticed the coach had one firmly in his grasp. But at least it was moved inside. It felt like some kind of corporate area. So shout out the clubs moving upwards when it comes to that. The good little public perception there. Sharkies are another side in terms of this fullback dilemma they've got, Brent. I know it took them a long time to extend and announce the extension, and it's only for a year of Kennedy. It felt like they were waiting for something else to arrive, some kind of option, please happen. Liam Ison does look like probably the future for him, but a little bit too early for him. It still needs a little bit of time. But, Brent, I think the Sharkies' problem at the moment, why I'm going to be pretty critical here of them, is the fact that they've been building nicely, and I know they've slowly made improvements each year, and they've got a better finals finish each year the last 3 years, but this is a fair income now time for a football side in the Sharkies. They need to win a comp. That's what they're up to now. That's no other way is going to be a success, in my opinion, because of where they've got to as their squad. I think it's the last year they'll have a lot of this squad together. There'll be a number of key players, I think, that will leave soon because of salary cap pressures, and I just think the time is now to refresh things. Kennedy, they can't. I'll declare it now, and I'm sorry for being too harsh, but they won't win the comp this year with Kennedy at fullback. I can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big call, and good on you for making that call, but I don't think you're far off the mark. It's the modern day fullback, and don't get me wrong, he's good at times, and I don't want to say he's all bad, but it's just that I think when the going gets tough, like they need someone to step up, and he sort of doesn't seem to be the guy that can do it for him. Like Nico can't do it all on his own, and he definitely tries, but they're always thereabouts, not knocking them too much. They always seem to be in that last four conversation, or they get to that prelim, but they just can't get over the line. And yeah, they're not getting any younger. I think Nico can't go back there now. He's a bit too old. There's probably too many Ks in the leagues for old Nico to go back there. I don't really know if they're looking, to be honest. They may be happy with Will Kennedy. I don't know what the situation is, but yeah, there's just something that I don't know. They just can't get the monkey off the back as far as cracking into a grand final. We saw him win it, obviously, it was nearly 10 years ago now, but completely different footy team. But yeah, mate, I don't know. Is it Will Kennedy? Is it something else? I don't think so. On paper, they've got a squad that can win a comp, and for the last 3 or 4 years they've done so. They added AFB last year, so they don't really have any excuses now. I think you're giving them one with Will Kennedy, but I don't even think it's that fair to suggest it's because, they should still be very close.
He has a few mistakes in him.
He does.
He hasn't got the best passing game either, and that's something that a lot of the modern day fullbacks need to have to take some more pressure and have another selection point of view for attack. I look back like last year, they obviously made the prelim final, well done to them, but you compare him to the other three fullbacks that were in at that stage of the competition. You've got Edwards, Walsh, and Pappy, and then it's like that far below is then Kennedy. Like, it's just, he's not even on that anywhere near that level of those three players, unfortunately. And I feel like at the moment it's either you've got a gun fullback or you've got a young, exciting guy who can just go all day. He just does not stop, and that's enough to just keep him relevant. And I think a lot of those mid-table teams have that. And then I just don't know if Kennedy's the guy. And I know there might be some blowback or something on that, and some people might say, "Oh, I think you're being a little bit harsh." And I maybe. I just, as I said at the start, I'm judging this on the Sharks at the moment for my need to win a competition to be a successful season in my eyes. And when I'm comparing them to a few of the other teams and stuff like that, fullback is really looking out at me at the moment as their issue.
Yeah, and I don't think it doesn't look like, the weird thing with it is it doesn't look like they haven't suggested there's going to be any change there.
Mhm.
Like, it's like they don't seem to think there's a
Ison.
problem. So yeah, whether it's, I think Ison did a ACL or something at an interesting period last year, and then you think, well, who's out there they could get? Like, I don't even know. I think they had Dykes at one point, but he's now moved on.
And to the Dogs.
Chevy Stewart, I think, is a guy that looks good. That maybe, I don't know, but you're just talking what ifs and buts and just speculating here. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know what his contract situation is, or I don't know how old he is, but I would agree with you. I've always sort of knocked that their fullback's the reason why they can't get it done. But you talk to any Sharks fans and they'll never sell out on Will Kennedy. Yeah. So, yeah, and I even copped it last year when he was leading the Dally M's early on in the year from a couple of Sharks that I was getting who's leading the Dally M's, and I thought, he's got to be kidding me.
That was a bad reflection for the Dally M's in itself. The fact that he was on top of the leaderboard, but someone like the Dolphins, for instance, Fuller, like someone like him going there would just be almost perfection in my eyes. Like, that's exactly the style of player that they need there at the moment. Just that fullback that's nippy, is everywhere, just pops up like a Jai Gray style of player, and away they go.
That'd be a great signing. Fuller to the Sharks would be awesome.
Make it happen. You heard it here first, League of Inches.
100%.
Last one, just aside that I'm taking this at a different point of view. They didn't care about the trials, and fair enough as well. The Panthers. Where I'm going at with this is more so similar to the Storm is their depth. This, for one, is a bit interesting talking point because their depth of mine isn't anywhere near as deep as it has been in the past. And I think we've seen that on the weekend when they versed the Tigers, who their depth was unreal. They came on and just continued on, and that's what won the Tigers the game in the end, because when it was the first grade squads, it was almost neck and neck type thing. They're just in a battle, which was great to see. I think Penrith were probably just in front for most of that half. But unfortunately for Penrith, they're now victims of their own good and the fact that clubs know how good their juniors are. So, and I know for a fact what clubs are doing is they go to basically the Penrith system or the junior clubs. They are picking these guys off from the age of like 16, 17, 18 and saying, come over to us. And you now go through the competition. Like the time, we just spoke about the Titans winger, Penrith Junior. Like these guys are coming through and all these clubs are taking them because there's no chance for them to play first grade at the current stage, where other clubs like the Titans and Tigers and Dragons can come in and go. Like we've seen it with Setu 2 as well. They can, I think, or Farlow, one of them is a Penrith Junior. They're coming in saying, like, what's they're coming and go, we can't give you first grade for another probably 2 years. That's how stacked our side is. Then these guys are going, oh, here you go. No worries. We'll give you a first grade spot. No worries. So they're almost a victim now, Brent, of just how good they have been, which is unfortunate, but I guess that's what happens when you win 4 comps. You take that any day of the week.
Yeah, and I think, Jolly, that they're getting pillaged from both sides. So, they're losing guys from the top 17 every year, or up until I think last year was the first year they didn't really see. But, they lost the Critters, the Luais, the Fishers, the Burtons, the Kick-Owls over the years. But then on the flip side, it's like they lost Icats, Yongis and Talaus, all those guys that were right on the doorstep because they weren't going to get those opportunities, right? And look at those guys now. Imagine if they had a Yongi,
I'm so glad we got him when we did.
He's an unreal player. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, and whether or not, Jolly, do we finally see it catch up with them? Because it's always been, for me, it's like eventually this has got to catch up with them. And I thought, well, maybe it's last year we'd see it. And we sort of did maybe to start the year, but they still ended up being 5 minutes away from a grand final. So, yeah, it's another thing. I must admit I haven't looked too much at their list, Jolly, but I can definitely see how it's an issue. And, yeah, every single, like you said, that Titans winger, I didn't know he was a Riff Junior. Everyone seems to be a Riff Junior at some point, so it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I don't know. They made some interesting more player swaps with the Wars than anything. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Maybe
I may have got my
we
players
see
mixed up. Apologies if I have, guys, but I'm almost very certain I did hear that the Titans winger was a Penrith.
No, he
May have
was.
got
You're
my
right.
mixed up.
Yeah, he was yeah. I remember hearing that as well. You're right. So, yeah, I don't know. I must admit it will be interesting. They haven't really. I mean, they signed Talangi. That was a big signing for them, obviously, and he's going to keep coming on. But I don't know. At some point, guys like Martin or Yo Edwards, they're not getting any younger. So, in some time over the next few years, we're going to see a big change of the guard sort of at Penrith. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
And I'm not that worried about him this year because I actually have him as my premiers. So
Same
I
here.
do still think there'd be a fantastic side this year. I'm just looking. It's more so something that just popped in when I was watching these trials. And normally, especially like last year they were doing the World Club Challenge, so you couldn't really talk about these sort of trials. You'd normally just think naturally, maybe it's a lazy opinion. You go, oh yeah, their juniors are coming on. They're just freaks. We know what they're like. And you're like, hang on a second. And I just looked at it and remembered what a few things I've been told behind the scenes was, yeah, this is actually really starting to impact them. Like they're starting to lose a lot of these really gun guys where some of these juniors are coming on and they're like, oh, okay, this isn't like this extraordinary wonder kid. This is just a junior. This is just sweet, no worries. And then the other guys are playing elsewhere. So something that they'll deal with moving forward. But that's it, guys. There we go. Done and dusted. Let me know, firstly, how Brent's training trial has gone. Give us some feedback. Be kind, please. He came in off the bench and very late comer, so I really do appreciate it. But let me know your feedback. Might have to upgrade him to a top 30 contract and see where we go from there. But Brent, I really do appreciate it, mate. It's been fantastic to talk some footy with you. You did not disappoint at all. Your mind is fantastic. Thank you for jumping on.
Thanks, mate. I wish my missus would talk about me as nicely as you talk about me, so I appreciate it. And
mine too.
Always
hope you're both listening.
Always happy to come and dribble some footy, mate. And now with this 6-man bench, you might be able to chuck me there as a utility with the last 10 to go or something, and see who might need to use me. But pleasure to be here, mate. And thanks for chatting. And you go all right yourself.
Thanks, mate. The old pie and candy Coke contract might look nice. So
I'll take that. I'm done. Sign me up.
Chicken wings at Caxton Street Brewing Co. might work a few times as well. Thanks, guys. Like, subscribe. You know all that jazz. Go on to the social media pages. Look, the giveaway has finished, but there will be another one coming up very, very shortly, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We get into footy season, guys. This week we'll be covering a lot of the Vegas stuff. Obviously, this is Vegas week. We'll have Supercoach point of view. We'll reveal our teams as well, so this will be a big podcast. Then we'll have the Tuesday night with Isaac. We'll be talking all the news to come out. I think maybe Nathan Cleary result will be out by then. And there's obviously the team news from the Vegas team list Tuesdays as well. See you all then at some point this week. Goodbye. Thank you for listening.